Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the United States, and I'm coming to you today with my paper pumpkin alternative projects for the April 2022 paper pumpkin kit, which is called Change is Beautiful. I have 2 cards and actually a home decor item for you today, partly because I had a commission for that home decor item over 2 years ago, and I finally, when I saw the kit, I knew it would be perfect to make it. So I will explain as we go along, but I'm going to turn my camera around so that we can get started with the projects. As I said, this month's kit is called Change is Beautiful. And as always, I make sure that I take out my, in this case, Melon Mambo ink spot and my stamp set, and then unpack and look at the back to make sure that I have everything that is supposed to be included in the kit, which I already did, and everything is there. Don't forget that there are also alternatives that you can find online if you just use the QR code that shows you how to put the cards together. So you've got lots of ideas there and some help in assembling. The stamp set has 2 butterflies and a caterpillar and some little flowers, and then definitely some wonderful sentiments. I believe in you. Every day is a new day. I'm so proud of who you've become. May this new season hold wonderful new experiences, and beautiful things take time. Lots of wonderful sentiments in the kit. And then, of course, a sneak peek as always to next month's kit. And this time, next month's kit not only features all 5 of our upcoming new in colors that will be introduced in next month's new annual catalog, but you will also have a chance to win a golden voucher. There will be 200 of them in the kits that are mailed out, and it's worth $25 in US dollars or $34 Canadian. So that's very exciting. We all have a chance to win that as long as we're subscribers, so look for that next month. And I'm going to move this out of the way so that I can show you the projects that I made for today. So here is the first one, and we're actually using a leftover panel from one of the cards. So I will show you that in a minute, or from one of the cards. And then I have a couple of different alternatives for the second one. So we'll do one of those today. And then last but not least, my home decor item, my framed project. And I basically just cut apart one of the cards, and this is the leftover from that card, which I'll show you in a minute. But I did this because I have a friend who, like I said, commissioned this for me over 2 years ago. She wanted something that showed the different stages of a butterfly developing, because she felt that that represented her life and where she's been in different places at different times in her life. So as soon as I got the kit, as soon as I saw the sneak peek, I knew I was finally going to be able to do it, mostly because of this right here that I knew I didn't have a stamp for, and even the caterpillar. I've got lots of butterflies, but no caterpillars, I don't think. So, but now I do, of course, in this kit. So the first thing I did when I got the kit was put this together, and I gave it to her the next day, and she loved it. So I was really happy with that. All right, so I will show you how to make all 3. But we're going to start off with just the first card, so I'll put these aside for now and put this one here. When I saw those clouds that were left over when I cut the card apart, it made me think that I wanted to use it as part of a card front. And as I played with it, I thought I really want it to look something to look like the sun coming out from behind the clouds. So hopefully that is the feeling that you get, because especially with the saying every day is a new day, which I thought would fit so nicely with that. So I've got some of my components already. I've got a Balmy blue card base, and I have that scrap from the card, which, like I said, I'll show you how I got that when we do project number 3, but it's basically part of the last panel of the card. And then I used the Waves dies, which are upcoming in the new annual catalog, but they're actually available now as kind of a sneak peek. And I cut out these clouds, because we're going to be using those. And they also have a die that cuts out some definition to the clouds. And on these, I used my adhesive sheets on the back so that they'll be easier to put on. And it looks like I'm missing one, so I will grab that as well. here is that last cloud piece. And I'm going to quickly show you the dies. Like I said, these are the waves dies, so they have obviously waves that you can cut out, but the clouds and some labels, and this cuts out an image that goes with the stamp set and some birds. A great set, and it came in perfectly handy for this project. So let's start our assembly. And what I did was position this where I thought it would be, where I would need it. And then, though, I flipped it over and held it like this to make the sun. And the template I used comes from the Here's to You March 2021 paper pumpkin kit. It had templates in it as an extra kind of surprise. And actually I was first looking for the cloud templates thinking I would use those. And when I looked in the kit, I saw this and remembered that, oh, that's right, this comes with it too. I was trying to figure out what to do for the sun. This worked perfectly. So I'm going to bring in a scrap and I'm going to show you what I did. And I did have a little bit of extra sun there. I'm going to see if I can avoid that this time, hopefully. So we'll move these out of the way for right now. And all I did was, like I said, position this piece where I think it's going to be, except obviously turned around the other way. And then position the sun so it mostly looks like it's above that little edge there. And then I've got my blending brush, my yellow one. I have one for each, dedicated for each color. And I use Daffodil Delight ink. And this is the tricky part because the mask or the template is very, or the stencil is very fragile. And when you move the blending brush around like you normally would, it moves this. So I did it just slightly different. Reposition this. What I did, again, I'm going to have it kind of like that, was I inked up the brush and then just kind of pounced like that. And I just went all the way out on each of the rays because you see it moves a little bit and I didn't want it to move too much. So this was the easiest way to accomplish that. And I'm just going to do it until I find that it's dark enough to the color that I want it. And I'm just going to be careful not to go past the edge of that stencil so that I avoid getting the little extra line that I did there. And there we have it. And then all I'm going to do is lay this back around the other way and adhere it. I think before I do that, I'm going to do some stamping since I have that Daffodil Delight ink out. So let me show you. I'll slide this under. I first stamped right on the blue and I stamped it in the Daffodil Delight, but it was too light. So we could stamp it in Balmy blue and it would be darker, but I really like the idea of having it on the cloud. So I'll show you how I did that. That was pretty easy. I just basically stamped it twice. So I've got that Every Day is a New Day stamp. And I could have kind of kept them together and did it, but I overlapped them a little and I didn't want to do that. So this is what I did. Inked it up and I made sure that New Day shows on that cloud. And you see it says is a little bit, so we're going to overlap that on the smaller one. Like that. Perfect. And I don't think we used it on the inside. No, we used Balmy blue on the inside, so I'll put that away. And we don't need the paper anymore. So we'll bring this card back in, and now we will start our assembly. So for this piece, I've just got my Stampin' Seal. And then we'll put the clouds on. So I'm going to position this one down here a little bit. And then the other one is going to overlap so that we can see those words. Actually, I think I'll do it this way. So it will cover up what was underneath, because I can see is clearly on that top little cloud. And then the rest, we'll bring these in. Like I said, there are adhesive sheets on the back. So they just go along the bottom. And then press it in place once you're happy with the position. And if you can't get the paper off, if you can't peel it off easily, take your pick tool, and we'll pull up a section, being really careful. These are very delicate. I'm going to go with a thicker section to just pull that paper right off. And again, position on the bottom of the clouds. I didn't want to use the white ones. I thought it was too stark, so that's why I used the extra dye that comes with this set. That helps it to blend in a little bit more, I think, with the background. And yet it still has definition. And then our last one. And this one actually may need just a touch of adhesive on the end because it didn't quite catch. The first one was partly already peeled, so it was sticky all the way across. This one is not. So if need be, I can put a dab of glue on there, which I will probably have to help it hold. I think I'm just going to put some on my finger. Oops. And rubbing along that edge where there's no adhesive, because I don't want it to come out on the front. And then I adhered those also with Stampin' Seal. And like I said, on the inside, I just stamped "I believe in you," just very simply. And I stamped it in Balmy blue. And that is card number 1. All right, and I did 2 variations of the second card. This was the first one because I wanted to use components just from the kit, and that is what I did for this one. But then I remembered that there was a cute little tree stamp from the Happy Hedgehogs stamp set, which will also be continuing in the new annual catalog. And so I used that, and here's the problem with only having 3 cards in the set. I first stamped the butterfly here, and then I thought, no, it's better up here, so I did 2, and I was already planning on doing a 3rd one here. So that is what I did. And of course on this one, I felt like it was a little high. I should have moved it down. So I ended up putting it here because I also didn't want it to interfere with the tree. But they're, you know, they're pretty similar other than that. Again, components from the kit, flowers, and of course the butterfly. And on the inside, again, "I believe in you," and I did some more butterflies. And on both of them, I stamped the greeting in Granny Apple Green, but I think I'm going to use Bermuda Bay this time. So I'm going to use this card. I wanted to show you this as an alternative if you do have the stamp set, because I think that looks really cute. But if you don't, I'm really a big fan of showing cards that use just the components that come in the kit. So let's do that. So I've got a basic white card base, and I always like to see the envelopes that are in the kit. So the envelopes, here's the one we'll be using, and here are the other two. So definitely you can use those as backgrounds for other cards. But when I opened this up, it gave me an idea. So that's all you do is just carefully open it up by moving down the inside. And then when I get to the bottom, I usually use my paper snips, because if you just pull, it can tear it, and then you need a big section for this. So I don't want to waste any. We'll just cut it right at the bottom on each side to open it up. And this was pretty, but when I turned it like this, I thought, oh my goodness, a hill and a tree and some sky. And that's what I saw. So I used that for my design. I love the colors. I know I'm going to use the scraps also for other cards. But for today, we're just going to use the main section. So I'm just carefully lining this up just to the left of where the fold is. And hopefully it's straight, but there's a lot of good stuff you could use on another card. So like I said, I've saved all those. And for this one, we want to cut it pretty close to the edge because we need, actually I'm going to cut it this way first, I think. Because we need a pretty big section. Let's make sure that looks straight. And then the same thing with this side. Oh, because now we can cut it. We need it at 4 1/4. So I'm going to line it up right there. And then I wanted to cut off a little bit of the grass end. So we're going to set it up at 5 1/2, because 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is the size of the card front. And we want to cover it. Got a little bit of stuff at the edge. I think I need a new blade in my trimmer, but I think it will be okay. So we'll do our stamping first before we put it on the card, although it doesn't really matter. So for this, again, I use components that come with the kit. So, and I'll pull the stamps in as we use them, but I wanted to use this little stamp that comes with the kit that makes kind of a little flower. So I just stamped it twice in each section, and I did stamp that in Granny Apple Green. And because it's photopolymer and see-through, you can line it up fairly easily. And then on the hill, they didn't need to be quite perfectly lined up. I tilted the second one like that, so it looks like they're growing on the hill. And every day is a new day. I stamped in Melon Mambo. And we'll put that aside because we'll need that Melon Mambo in a minute for the inside. And actually we will use it again. I did the butterfly on this one in Melon Mambo, and the other one I did it in Bermuda Bay, but that was because I had a lot of Melon Mambo here and I thought we needed a little bit of balance with the Bermuda Bay. But I am going to grab that butterfly. And before I actually stamp it, I'm going to bring in the sheet that we're using for it that has the flowers, because I'm going to pull one out. And I'm going to kind of lay it here and then move it when I stamp, so that looks like the butterfly is right there. One more little pass in there. And then just kind of decide where I want to put it and then move that flower out of the way. So when it goes back, perfect. It looks like the butterfly's on the flower. And now we'll put it aside because we'll need that Melon Mambo for the inside. So for the rest, I just stamped the butterfly from the kit, but I did feel like up here it was heavy. I think I'm going to put it down here more. Let's see what that's going to look like. We'll take out our butterfly because that's going to go here, and then 2 more of the flowers on this side for some balance with the one on the right. So I'm thinking the butterfly maybe right above the saying. Yes, I think that's going to look better. So we're going to grab Bermuda Bay for that. And it's very inked. I just re-inked it, so it's very juicy. And we'll put that right above the sentiment. And then on the inside, we're going to use Bermuda Bay for that sentiment on the inside, I believe in you. And just for ease of use, I use the same, whoops, not on the card front yet. I use the same sentiments. Move that out of the way. But there are other sentiments that you certainly can use if you like them better. And now I'm going to bring in that Melon Mambo again. Well, actually, we're going to stamp the butterfly one more time. So I did that in the bottom corner. And I would probably use that on the envelope as well. We'll put that down there. And I know it looks dark, but it will dry lighter. So that is our Bermuda Bay. We're done with that, at least until the next project. And we'll bring in the Melon Mambo. And make sure it's right side up. And we'll do one there. And now you want to be sure you clean it, because we are going to use crushed curry for the next one. And I just took the colors from here, obviously, and carried them through to the inside. And I know that the stamp is stained and it looks pink, but it will still stamp nicely in the crushed curry. There won't be any pink there. The photopolymer stamps get stained, but they don't transfer the color, so that's nice. So the inside is done, and our stamping is done. So now we'll just finish assembling. So I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid glue, because I find that's the best adhesive when you have a card front that's the same, or a first layer that's the same size as your card front. When I use my Stampin' Seal, I never quite get it in the right place, and then it's too hard to move. But with the wonderful liquid glue, you can reposition until you're happy with it, at least for a few seconds. We'll press it and make sure that glue adheres. And for the flowers and for the butterfly, I used my glue dots, which surprisingly, there weren't any in this kit. But if you are a subscriber to Paper Pumpkin, I'm sure you have glue dots left from previous kits. So you could use those if you don't have these that Stampin' Up! Sells. I'm just putting a couple of glue dots and I'm bending that butterfly. I want it to be dimensional. I want it to look like it's flying. Oh yeah, I like that so much with the butterfly down here. And then the same thing, we'll put the flowers on. And so all we have left is the bling, and this comes with the kit. They're so pretty. They're very opalescent. And I'm just using my Take Your Pick tool to put one on the big butterfly and one on the medium butterfly. And I think we'll put the last one in the flower, as I did with the second card. In fact, maybe we'll put it in all the flowers. And just draw your eye right around that card. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, so that is card number 2. For our third and final project, I have this framed art project. Again, a commission from a friend. And so I cut apart this card. This is the card, one of the cards that comes in the kit. And I cut it, I believe, in 2 1/8 inch sections so that it would fit across the 7-inch frame. And I wanted to make sure to get the flowers on both sides of that first panel in there. So I cut it close to the edge of that flower on the right of the first panel. And then measured 2 1/8 from that. So it just takes a little bit more off. And I left the length the way it is. And then for the second panel, I wanted it close to the edge here. Actually, you know what? We'll do it this way, just to be on the safe side. We're going to cut it close to where the fold is, just to the side of the fold. And now we'll do that one at 2 1/8 as well. And the same thing here. I'm just going to cut it on the one side of the fold. And at 2 1/8. And so here is the piece that I used for the first card. And I did not cut that down at all either. I used it the size that it was as the leftover. So here are our panels, and this goes together actually pretty quickly because I don't need to do much. I'm going to stamp Every Day is a New Day in Bermuda Bay on the last panel. All right, for the next part, for the butterfly, originally I was going to use the butterfly that comes in the kit, the same butterfly stamp that we used on the second project, but it was too small. And so I got out my Butterfly Brilliance stamp set, which is just one large stamp with all these butterflies, and I tried one of the smaller ones, but I ended up using this one because I thought that it made a nice size. With the pupa being the size that it is, it just was, the other butterfly was too small, the proportions were off. So I think I may even use a slightly larger one this time. I think we'll try this one. And what I did was ink it up with my sponge daubers, and I used Granny Apple Green and Pacific Point, partly because the person who it's for said she liked blues and greens, and partly because there's blue and green here. So I could have used Balmy Blue, but I decided to use Pacific Point. In fact, we'll try the Balmy Blue this time and see what that looks like. So I'm starting with the green, and I've got my sponge dauber, and I'm just inking the center portion in the Granny Apple Green. Getting a good layer of ink on there and making sure I get the antenna. And now I'm going to bring in the Balmy Blue and ink the rest of it. And I really tried to put more ink on the outside edges and then a little lighter as I come in toward where the green is, but making sure to cover the whole butterfly. So now I've got a scrap of basic white, and I'm going to huff or breathe on the stamp to make sure it's wet, and then press it here. If we get a little bit of ink, whoop, I've got a little ink on my fingernails. If I get a little extra stray ink around the basic white, it doesn't matter because we're going to cut it out. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. We're going to use that. So I'm going to stamp 2 of them and then cut them out because I did put one on the inside of the frame just in case something should happen to the one on the outside, and I like the look of it anyway. So I'm going to stamp another one and then cut both of those out. But before I do that, I'm also going to stamp the caterpillar. And I'm going to use the same process on that caterpillar as I did on the butterfly. So I'm going to bring in the Granny Apple Green again and my sponge dauber, and I'm just doing down toward the bottom where the little feet are. And now bringing back the Balmy Blue and doing the rest of the caterpillar. And we'll stamp that. And the same thing, I'm gonna, like I said, stamp another butterfly and then cut them out and be right back. All right, so what I did was I stamped and cut out two of the bigger ones, and I did do one of the smaller ones because I'm not sure how it's gonna fit inside the frame. So I'm gonna move this out of the way for the moment and bring in the frame. And I've already taken off the wrapping. I got the frame from Michael's, and I'm just gonna take out the border because we don't need that. And we're gonna put the glass right back in. And then I cut a piece of basic white cardstock in the same size as the frame, so 5 inches by 7. And we'll move our butterflies and caterpillar. Well, we'll put the caterpillar on so that doesn't get lost. So I'm just gonna put that on the leaf with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. And you can see I cut really close to the edges except for by where the antennas are. And I position this to leave just a little bit of a border at each edge. I'm actually going to move it down a little bit from the top. Leave a little bit more of a border at the top. And just a little one in between. About like that. I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue again instead of my Stampin' Seal because I really want to make sure I line them up. I had some issues with the first one in getting them even, so this will help me to do that. And we'll do the ends first so that we can make sure the middle is centered between the two of them. And then we'll see how the big butterfly is. Yeah, I think that will probably work. Let's see, or the little one. I think we'll do the little one because it fits better in the frame. So all I did was put some glue dots on the back in the center because I wanted it to look a little more 3D even though it gets a little smushed by the glass. And then we'll put it in the frame. And I use the paper that comes with it just on the back, just for another layer so it moves less. And double check. Oh yeah, I like that better. Down a little bit lower looks better instead of centering it completely. Close it up. And then we're going to do the same thing. Put some glue dots and put the butterfly over it, over the one underneath. Oh yeah. I really like it with the Balmy blue. I used Pacific Point because my friend said she liked royal blue, but I like that it matches completely with the Balmy blue. And then we're going to use some more of those little embellishments from the kit. Put 3 of them on the butterfly's body. And then last but not least, we're going to put some Wink of Stella on that butterfly. To give it some sparkle. Also helps to give it a little bit of a watercolor look and darkens it up just a bit. But it's a nice effect. Yeah, that looks very good. Some nice sparkle. And so that's it. That is our last project. I'll bring the other 2 in so that you can see them. Card number 1 and card number 2. And we'll show both variations of that. And then our final 3D project. Hope you like them. Leave me some love in the comments and let me know. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you coming back every month to see my paper pumpkin alternatives. Stick around my channel. Check out the other videos. I've got cards, scrapbook pages, home decor items, tips, techniques. There's lots there for you to see. And I will see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Happy stamping.